We found ourselves at Crew Lake on the Vicksburg subdivision in late January. KCS number 3928 has just received permission to exit the siding and continue dumping ballast on the main line. For the past 2 days, this train has been dumping ballast between here and Tallulah, Louisiana. While the main line would belong to it, 3928 must keep a restricted speed of 8 miles per hour as they dump. Today, the Herzog cars will be completely emptied as the last stretch of rail to receive fresh ballast will be between here and Monroe, which is only a few miles to the west. After our trio of KCS SD70 Maces clear the crossing, keep a close eye on the Herzog cars. You'll see some of the cars begin to automatically dump ballast onto the right-of-way. Supplied with coordinates from MOW management, these cars are programmed through GPS to know exactly where to dump. While we wouldn't capture it on camera, the technology allows these cars to shut the doors for the brief moments as they move over grade crossings or switches. The solar panels mounted on each individual car serve the purpose of charging batteries. These batteries power the hydraulic doors on the bottom of the cars. The railways have come a long way from the days of manually dumping rock and breathing in the dust all day. The train would be emptied as it arrived to Monroe. We would get one more roll-by of the trio of Maces as they approach Control Point East Magenta. KCS originally had a much larger fleet of these locomotives. Originally wearing the reporting marks of TFM, KCS would absorb them into their fleet for road train service in the U.S. As the locomotives aged, KCS would sell many of these, with some winding up at railroads such as commuter giant Metra of the greater Chicago area, along with the Alaska Railroad. Those that remained on the KCS roster would be relegated to work train service, and that practice still continues with CPKC. In Ruston, it is now February as we stand on the Bonner Street Bridge as Daily Manifest M266 is making its way east to Artesia, Mississippi. 6 KCS locomotives would be on the lead, a pretty rare sighting since the CP and KCS power pools have fully integrated. Trailing is one of the 2 KCS MOW-9s, number 901, bound for an assignment on possibly the newly acquired Meridian and Bigby. 3 Jeeps, one being a former Canadian National Wide Cab, are also in transit to various destinations in Mississippi. As the DPU would duck under Bonner Street, that would be our only train for the afternoon, but we would find ourselves out for an eventful day the following afternoon. At the Control Point 118 in Arcadia, the Monroe Local is out and about. It has just wrapped up switching the Foster Farms feed mill and is being sent into the siding to let a string of eastbound road trains to pass. The leader, 2976, was an interesting find with its original headlight frame still present. When the locomotive was delivered in 1981, originally there was a strobe light above the stationary bulbs. 2976 is a GP40-3 locomotive that is of pure KCS heritage. We'll be seeing a little more of this local and the Battleship Gray 2033 later on. Daily intermodal train I-168 would be the first of 3 consecutive eastbounds to pass through. Here we see it passing by the old Vicksburg, Shreveport, and Pacific Railway Depot with the former Illinois Central Gulf caboose on display. We'd opt to skip the second eastbound with standard power in favor of getting in position for the third. Alongside the Bienville Lumber Company sawmill in Ada, M275 is seen coming through with some fresh faces on the lead. Luckily for us, M275 would be holding in Gippsland to allow a westbound to clear. A hotshot intermodal is on the tail of this 275, so the westbound will be taking the siding as both eastbounds remain on the main line. It would be a decent wait, so we would jump on the opportunity to gather B-roll and up-close photos of these fresh CPKC painted motors. While pairs of these new paints would be spotted across the system in recent months, this would be the first duo to traverse across the Meridian Speedway. In spring of 2023, employees of the railroad were given 5 paint scheme options to vote on for the new corporate livery, and this would be the winner. In May of 2024, CPKC would showcase the first locomotive painted in conjunction with the 2816 Final Spike Steam Tour display event in Kansas City. Since then, several locomotives have trickled out of paint booths sporting the new look. Nods to both roads are evident in the scheme. Canadian Pacific System Red is the primary color. While on the rear of the locomotive, you can find the gold stripe that acts as the transition to the black painted section on the rear for KCS. While I'm not entirely sure if this was intentional, the rear section is very reminiscent of Kansas City Southern's E-Unit locomotives that were charged with pulling the Southern Belle passenger service between Kansas City and New Orleans. Albeit back in the days of passenger service, it was actually Brunswick green instead of black. Some of the early model E-Unit rear sections would transition to match the passenger cars of the consist like you see in this image here. Along the side of the locomotives is where you can find the famous Beaver Shield logo with CPKC lettering. The Beaver logo roots can be traced all the way back to 1886, when the Canadian Pacific was just in its infancy. After a hiatus, the Beaver logo returned in 2017 and does not appear to be going anywhere in the near future. Alongside the cab, a small but nice detail is the three flags of Canada, the US, and Mexico beside the locomotive number. Overall, the new scheme is sharp, featuring a sense of familiarness paired with a modern look, and we're looking forward to documenting more of these as they become more common sight. Rest assured to all the CP and KCS diehards, though, it will be a very long time before our beloved schemes are gone. 7434 is a General Electric ET44AC and is among 8 Tier 4s acquired by the railroad in 2024. These will be some of the first of an oncoming wave of new Tier 4s in the future. Behind it is CP8737, an older model of the Evolution series, but revitalized with its sharp new paint and refurbished cab interiors. You can tell the locomotive's age, though, with its cheek number boards on the nose. Our westbound has finally arrived to Gippsland, and it's the M267 bound for Shreveport. A BNSF C44-9W and GEVO lead the charge. It's not common sight to see BNSF on the speedway, let alone on a manifest, so this made for an interesting meet. With the 267 out of the way, our new paints have a clear signal to advance eastward. M275 is a daily mixed freight that often features intermodal on the front half. It originated in Sanchez Yard in Mexico and terminates in Jackson, Mississippi. Much of this freight will continue eastward on the Meridian in Bigby, which is now jointly owned by CPKC and CSX Transportation. The rain is still pouring down as we are in position for one more roll-by at Walker Road near Shoedrain. After parting ways with the new paints, we would begin working our way back home. The Job 20 Local has now finished its work in Arcadia and Simsboro and is making its way back to Monroe. With the gray now in the lead, we'd capture it on Hogan Road. I hope you enjoyed watching this video of more CPKC action on the Meridian Speedway. If you did enjoy, please leave a like down below and maybe subscribe if you haven't already. Until the next time, my friends, I'll be seeing you somewhere out there along the rails, and as always, thanks for watching.
Detector milepost 97.0. Proceed. Total axle 16. Speed 37. Temperature 54 degrees. Train is eastbound. Detector out.